it sounds like the relationship that an executive has to the business that they're going to be part of is pretty unique, right? It's almost like a puzzle piece to fit the culture properly. And but there's got to be some things you could do before you're ready to be an executive that would give you, experience. But is there anything that you could that you can think of that you could, some advice you'd give to people that would like to be in that position eventually, and situations they can put themselves in to be more prepared for that?
Yeah, two things jump right to my mind as you were asking that question. One is ask for a mentor. Pick your own mentor. Find somebody in the organization that you highly respect, highly regard. You love the way they make decisions. You love the way they manage, and go to that individual and say, would you be my mentor? And literally go to them and ask for a mentor. The second thing is to volunteer. Ask for project work. Ask for something you're interested in. Yeah. If you like doing something in particular, go ask to be involved in that. Yeah. I love being involved in whatever it is, and I'd like to learn more about it. Can I be put on a team, or can I participate? Or I'll work an extra, hour a day if that's what it takes to be involved in a project or do something. And it's I hate to use what's now becoming an overused term, but lean in and ask for stuff.
Yeah.
Volunteer, put yourself out there.
Express that interest, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I had read a book, I think it was called Stealing Fire, but one of the stories in it was talking about Google's search for their first CEO. And one of the things that they used in it, one of the requirements that they had was that the person had gone to Burning Man. Do you know what Burning Man is? It's like a music
the
festival.
Outdoor festival. Yeah.
But the reason for that was the openness to different experiences, right, and the ability to adapt and operate within weird different experiences. And I thought that was an interesting marker for looking into finding an executive.
Yeah, it is. And I think I don't want to Google bash here for a minute, but I think Google has a great brand awareness and a great brand reputation as far as a place to go and their products. But Google also has a very high turnover rate. You'd think, wow, it's Google. Everybody wants to work for Google, and what a great place to be. And I'm sure it is, but there's a high turnover rate there for some reason. I don't know if they're working people, 50, 60 hours a week and burn them out, or if leadership is stretched too thin and can't mentor and train people effectively. I'm not sure what's causing that, but I bring that up just as an example because all great brands doesn't mean it's a great place to be, and or it's a great culture fit.
Yeah.
So one more thing I want to ask you, you mentioned hours. When you look at leadership, what type of hours? I mean, you have leaders that say, hey, I'm a 40-hour week leader. I'm gonna lead. I want to be a C-level, but I'm going to work 40 hours a week. That's all I want. I'm not going to work off the clock. I don't find that, in my opinion, as a leader, I want to invest in my businesses, right? Yeah. I want somebody that's on the clock. They got to love this business, love our people so much and our customers so much that they love a call on a Saturday maybe, and they have no problem calling and have a conversation on Sunday because they love what they do, and their family is okay with it because they know their spouse is excited about the conversation they just had on the phone on a Sunday morning,
right?
Versus the other alternative.
Well, I'm going to tell you about that. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a story, and Chris and I actually touched on this when we were getting ready to kind of set this up and get started, and we were talking about the difference between leadership and getting to a position when I grew up versus millennials today. I mean, when I grew up, when I first got out of college and got my first job in corporate America, I was given a piece of advice, which was your car needs to be in the parking lot, the very first car parked in the morning and the very last car to leave every night. So when the company president or the managers drove in, they would see your car and figure out whose that was and know you must be busting your ass to do a great job. That's how I got into this. Today, that's just not the case. It doesn't happen that way. But I'm going to tell a story to kind of go at your situation here. I was was listening to two speakers, actually a YPO event. I'm listening to two CEOs of two very large companies. One's from France and one's from the United States. And I'll make this real short. They were being interviewed by a facilitator in front of a group of people, and they asked the guy from the United States, what's made you a successful leader, and how do you determine whether you've been a successful leader? And he said something basically very similar to what I just talked about. I lead by example. And I'm in the office at 6 a.m. and I'm usually not home until 8 o'clock. And I'm usually there on Saturdays. And if I'm not there, I'm taking emails or doing phone calls. And I work six days a week at least. So that's a short version of his example. They went to the guy from France and they said, how do you lead and how have you maintained or how do you measure your level of success as a leader? And he said, I take about 4 months of vacation every year. I spend a lot of time on my boat in the Mediterranean. I'm usually in the office about 2 days a week. And it was very, very different. But what he said was he measured his success as a leader and leading a company that he did such a great job of hiring and mentoring and training his direct reports that they can run the business without him. And he just does, the 30,000 or 50,000 feet decision making, and he's involved at that level, which allows him to take 4 months of vacation and work 2 or 3 days a week.
But wait a minute, in France now, that's kind of the required vacation time.
Well, I'm just saying it was an interesting way to look at,
really cool
at leadership.
Yeah.
One looked at it leading by example and working 70-hour work weeks. And the other one led by example by saying, I got people working for me that are so great.
A spectacular number 2, number 3, and they don't need me.
Yeah. So it's
for the main decisions.
Gets back to culture.
Yeah.
What's the culture of the business?
True. No doubt about it. And what's the culture of the country that you're and the customers, right?
That's right.
I mean, are your customers demanding that they want to talk to that CEO and they all that's common, right? Or is it a culture where they don't want to talk to the CEO or the leader, right? So yeah, and what have you built? What's the expectation you built? Maybe you're in an industry that doesn't communicate to a high level, but you've created a culture with all your customers where my phone's on 24/7. I've made the mistake to do that. Not a mistake because I like I like what I do, right?
Right.
So I am available all the time to people. But again, that's not, maybe the next CEO is not. And now we've got a culture switch that's makes it tough for our customers to stay on board.
Again, I hate to overuse the word, but it is a culture difference. I mean, it's how you want to lead. And
I talk about this, but 10, 15 years ago, culture I thought was kind of a joke, right? I mean, come on, you expect people, you pay them, you give them a good check, they come to work, they get their stuff done, and they go home when they got to go home, right? I don't want to hear about this culture crap. And that was probably maybe 10 years, 15, 20 years ago for sure. That's my mentality and my industry's mentality, right? Now, I mean, I realize how important that is because, boy, we have great people because of our culture, and then we have really bad fits sometimes because of our culture, and it's a good reason. There's a good reason for the bad fit,
right?
But either way, without those values, those consistent values that we drive, who are you, right? If nobody knows who you are, nobody knows the direction you're going in. They don't know where their seat in the bus is now or where it should be in the future.
Right.
So I'm so pumped up about our culture now and in the future and where it's going to go because we do strive to understand it, strive to know our team. If it's got to be tweaked and changed every 5-6 years, we'll do it. Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you've seen a lot of changes with how technology has been creeping into our lives and the introduction of just always being available, right? And I don't know what it was like when you had first started off, but I'm sure it wasn't as prominent as it is today. Or,
No, I can tell you when I first started, it was definitely not. Technology for me was a phone.
Yeah.
And then real technology was, I remember I might have been 25 years old and I was probably one of the first guys to ever get a car phone. Literally, it was mounted in my trunk.
Yeah.
The power unit was in the trunk.
Until the bag phone came along. And then you had the 10-pound battery over your shoulder, right?
And then the brick phone.
The brick phone, that was next. That was cool.
That was high tech.
Yeah.
So it's a lot different today. There's no question.
Do you still have the same phone number you had back then?
No.
I do.
No.
I still have the same cell number.
Wow. No, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's in your life all the time now, right? And just got to be a healthy management to that too, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right?
it's discipline. I mean, if you want to be on the phone and you want to be on calls or you want to be on emails or text messages 24/7, you can do it. I prefer not to do that. I make myself available, as I said, to my coaching clients 24/7, and I do that. But I have never had a situation where somebody calls me and I felt it was an unnecessary phone call. It's usually they use good judgment. My clients have used really good judgment. If they're calling me at 11 o'clock at night, it's for a really good reason.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. I invite that. That's very different than somebody just checking in all the time or asking you permission to do something or what would you do if you were me all the time.